Tower, both pilots are unconscious. I'm taking control now. The air traffic controller froze. The voice on the radio wasn't a man. Wasn't even an adult. It was a child. An 11-year-old girl. Flying a Boeing 757. With 222 passengers. And nobody knew if she could land it alive. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Alaska Airlines Flight 391 left Seattle-Tacoma International Airport at 2:47 p.m. on a cold Tuesday afternoon in March. 222 passengers climbed aboard the Boeing 757. Business travelers heading to meetings in Boston. Families going to visit relatives. College students returning from spring break. An elderly couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. A young mother with twin babies. A construction worker going to his brother's funeral. 222 ordinary people on an ordinary flight. None of them knew that in exactly 2 hours and 33 minutes, their lives would depend on the smallest person on the plane. Seat 14A, window side. That's where Lily Nakamura sat. She was so small that the businessman in seat 14B didn't even notice her at first. When he finally glanced over, he saw a tiny girl, maybe 4'6", 70 pounds if you soaked her in water first. She wore a faded purple hoodie 3 sizes too big, with a patch sewn crookedly on the sleeve that said, Nakamura Aerobatics. Her jeans had grass stains on the knees. Her sneakers were held together with duct tape. Her black hair was chopped short and messy, like she'd cut it herself with kitchen scissors. She had a purple backpack shoved under the seat in front of her. It was covered in hand-drawn pictures of airplanes, sketched in ballpoint pen, surprisingly detailed for a kid. The businessman went back to his laptop. Just another unaccompanied minor. Probably going to visit divorced parents or something. Not his business. He didn't know that this strange, silent little girl had been counting the minutes since takeoff. He didn't know she'd flown over 280 hours in the last 3 years. He didn't know that she could identify every sound the Boeing 757 made, the hydraulic whine, the air conditioning hum, the subtle change in engine pitch during climb. He didn't know that she was 11 years old and she could fly better than most adults. And he definitely didn't know that in 2 hours, when both pilots collapsed and 222 people started screaming, this tiny girl in the purple hoodie would stand up, walk to the cockpit, and become the only thing standing between everyone on this plane and death. But that part comes later. Right now, Lily just pressed her forehead against the cold window and stared at the clouds below. She hated being a passenger. The flight attendant who checked Lily's paperwork was named Rachel Chen. She was 28, had been flying for Alaska Airlines for 4 years, and she was good at spotting which unaccompanied minors would be trouble. This one seemed fine. Quiet. Sad, maybe, but not the crying type. Not the type who'd need constant attention. First time flying alone? Rachel had asked with her best friendly flight attendant smile. Lily had just nodded. Rachel didn't push. Some kids didn't like to talk. Well, if you need anything, just press the call button, okay? We'll take good care of you. Another nod. Rachel moved on. She had 220 other passengers to worry about. She didn't look closely at the patch on Lily's hoodie. Didn't recognize the name Nakamura. Didn't know that 3 years ago, Captain Yuki Firebird Nakamura had been the most famous aerobatic pilot in North America. Didn't know that Yuki had died in a crash at the Reno Air Races while her 8-year-old daughter watched from the crowd. Didn't know that the little girl in seat 14A hadn't spoken to anyone except her uncle for nearly a year after that. Didn't know that this quiet, sad child had learned to fly because it was the only way to feel close to her dead mother. Nobody on Flight 391 knew any of that. They were all just trying to get to Boston. Lily watched the Cascade Mountains slide past below. Snow-covered peaks. Frozen lakes. Forests that looked like green carpet from 35,000 feet. She hated this trip. Her grandmother was dying. Cancer. Stage 4. Maybe 3 weeks left, the doctor said. She wanted to see Lily one last time before the end. Uncle Jack had been the one to tell her. They'd been in the hangar, working on the old Piper Pawnee's engine, their hands covered in grease. Your grandmother called, Jack had said quietly. She's not doing well, Sparrow. She wants to see you. Lily had kept working on the engine. I don't want to go. I know. I want to stay here. With you. With the planes. I know, kiddo. But she's family. She loves you. And when she's gone. Jack had put down his wrench and looked at his niece. When she's gone, you'll regret not saying goodbye. Trust me on this. Lily had been silent for a long time. Then, in a voice so small Jack barely heard it, what if I can't come back? What do you mean? What if they find out? About the flying? What if they take me away and put me in a city and make me go to school and I can't ever fly again? Jack had pulled her into a hug. Nobody's taking you anywhere, Sparrow. I promise. You go to Boston, you say goodbye to your grandmother, and you come right back here. 3 days. That's all. But Lily had been terrified the whole way to the airport. Terrified on the drive. Terrified going through security. Terrified climbing onto this huge commercial jet where she couldn't touch the controls, couldn't feel the aircraft, couldn't do anything except sit and wait. She belonged in the sky. But not like this. Not as cargo. In the cockpit of Flight 391, Captain Marcus Webb was having a good day. He was 52, had been flying for Alaska Airlines for 19 years, had logged over 15,000 hours. This was a routine flight. Seattle to Boston. 5 hours, maybe less with the tailwind they were getting. Easy. His first officer was David Park, 34, newer to the 757 but competent. Good guy. They'd flown together before. Weather looks clear all the way to Boston, David said, checking the screens. Should be smooth. Let's hope so, Marcus said. I've got my daughter's birthday dinner tonight. If we're late, my wife will kill me. They both laughed. The autopilot was handling the flight. They were cruising at 35,000 feet, everything normal. The air conditioning hummed. The instruments glowed softly. Outside the cockpit windows, the sky was endless blue. Marcus rubbed his eyes. He felt a little tired. Maybe he was getting a headache. Nothing serious. You feeling okay? David asked. Yeah, just a little. I don't know. Warm, maybe. Yeah, me too. The AC might be running too hot. Marcus reached for the environmental controls. Adjusted the temperature. That better? I guess. They didn't know that the air conditioning system had a crack in the heat exchanger. Didn't know that carbon monoxide from the engines was slowly leaking into the cockpit air supply. Didn't know that they were being poisoned one breath at a time. It was odorless. Colorless. Invisible. And it was killing them. 2 hours into the flight, Rachel was in the galley preparing drinks when she heard the captain's voice on the intercom. But something was wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some technical, please remain. His words were slurred. Confused. Like he was drunk. Then the intercom cut off. Rachel froze. That wasn't normal. That was very, very not normal. She grabbed the interphone. Dialed the cockpit. No answer. She dialed again. Still nothing. Her heart started pounding. She walked quickly to the cockpit door. Knocked. Captain Webb? Everything okay? No response. She used her code to unlock the door. Pushed it open. and saw a nightmare. Captain Webb was slumped forward in his seat, unconscious. His lips had a blue tint. His breathing was shallow and ragged. First Officer Park was still conscious, but barely. His hands were shaking violently on the controls. His eyes were unfocused. He tried to speak but only managed a garbled sound, "Hell, hell," before his whole body started convulsing. Rachel screamed. Another flight attendant, James, rushed up behind her. "Oh my God! Get him out of the seat!" Rachel shouted. "He's seizing, he's going to crash us." They pulled David out of the first officer's seat. He collapsed onto the cockpit floor, his body jerking uncontrollably. Rachel looked at the instruments. She didn't know how to fly, but she could read numbers. Altitude, 34,200 feet. Descent rate, 1,500 feet per minute. They were going down. The autopilot was fighting against whatever random inputs David had made before they pulled him out, but it was struggling. Warning alarms were beeping. The aircraft was shaking. 222 people on board. And both pilots were down. Rachel's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the interphone. She keyed the cabin PA system. Tried to keep her voice steady. Failed. "If there are any pilots aboard this aircraft, please identify yourself to the cabin crew immediately. This is an emergency." She could hear the cabin erupt in panic. Shouting. Crying. Screaming. James stared at her. "What do we do?" "I don't know, we need a pilot." "What if there isn't one?" Rachel couldn't answer that. Because if there wasn't a pilot on board, everyone on this plane was going to die. In seat 14A, Lily's head snapped up the moment she heard the captain's slurred voice on the intercom. The businessman in 14B was still focused on his laptop. The woman across the aisle was reading a magazine. Nobody else seemed to notice. But Lily noticed. She knew that sound. Knew what it meant when a pilot's speech got confused and slow. Hypoxia. Or carbon monoxide. Or something else stealing oxygen from the brain. Her mother had taught her about it when she was 6. Had made her memorize the symptoms. If you ever hear a pilot talk like that, Sparrow, something is very wrong. You listen. You watch. You be ready. Lily's small hands gripped the armrests. When the intercom cut off abruptly, her stomach dropped. When the flight attendant's panicked voice came over the PA asking for pilots, the whole cabin exploded. People were screaming. A baby started crying. Someone shouted, "We're going to crash." A man 3 rows up was praying loudly in Spanish. The businessman in 14B finally looked up from his laptop. What the hell? But Lily was already unbuckling her seatbelt. She stood up. The businessman grabbed her arm. "Kid, sit down. You heard her, there's an emergency." Lily pulled her arm free without saying a word. She walked toward the front of the plane. Her purple hoodie made her look even smaller than she was. People barely noticed her moving through the chaos. Just a scared kid looking for a flight attendant. Nobody paid attention. Rachel was standing near the cockpit door, talking rapidly into the interphone, her face white with terror. 2 other flight attendants were with her. All 3 looked like they were about to cry. Lily walked up to them and said, in a voice that was quiet but absolutely clear. "I need to see the cockpit." Rachel looked down. Saw this tiny 11-year-old girl. "Sweetheart, you need to go back to your seat." "Are the pilots sick?" Rachel's professional mask cracked. "Both of them. Captain's unconscious. First officer can't speak. We need a pilot and nobody's." "I can fly," Lily said. All 3 flight attendants stared at her. "You're a child," Rachel said. "I'm 11. I've been flying since I was 9. I've logged 280 hours. I know how to take off and land. I know emergency procedures. I can help. James let out a hysterical laugh. You've got to be kidding. I'm not kidding. Lily looked directly at Rachel. Her dark eyes were calm. Too calm for a child in an emergency. My name is Lily Nakamura. My mother was Captain Yuki Nakamura. She was an aerobatic pilot. She died 3 years ago at Reno. My uncle is Jack Nakamura. He was a Navy F/A-18 pilot. He's been teaching me to fly since I was 8. It's illegal. I know that. But I can fly. And if you don't let me try, everyone on this plane is going to die. The aircraft lurched violently to the left. More screaming from the cabin. Rachel made a decision that would either save 222 lives or haunt her forever. Follow me. She unlocked the cockpit door. The cockpit was worse than Lily had imagined. Captain Webb was slumped unconscious in the left seat, his breathing barely visible. His lips were blue-gray. First Officer Park was on the floor behind the seats, still seizing, foam at the corners of his mouth. The instrument panel was lit up like a Christmas tree. Red warnings. Yellow cautions. Altitude alerts screaming. Descent rate, 2,000 feet per minute now. Altitude, 31,400 feet. They'd lost almost 4,000 feet since the pilots collapsed. The autopilot was fighting to hold the aircraft steady, but it was losing. Lily stepped into the cockpit and her child's brain wanted to freeze in terror. But her pilot's brain, the part that Uncle Jack had trained for 3 years, took over. First priority, stabilize the aircraft. She was so small that climbing into the captain's seat was like climbing onto a throne. The seat was huge. The cockpit was enormous. The instrument panel stretched away from her like the dashboard of a spaceship. Her feet didn't reach the rudder pedals. The yoke was too far away. She was 70 pounds trying to control 120 tons of metal and fuel and 222 human lives. But she'd learned to fly in a crop duster where she couldn't reach the pedals either. Where she had to sit on phone books and stretch to touch the controls. Size didn't matter. Control mattered. She found the seat adjustment controls. Moved the seat all the way forward. Sat on the very edge. Her feet still barely touched the pedals, but it was enough. She wrapped her small hands around the yoke. It was heavier than the Piper Pawnee's stick. Heavier than anything she'd ever flown. But it moved. Second priority, stop the descent. She looked at the instruments. Found the autopilot panel. Located the disconnect button. Uncle Jack's voice in her head, autopilot is helpful, Sparrow, but in an emergency, sometimes you need to feel the aircraft. Trust your hands. She pushed the disconnect. A loud warning tone. Autopilot disconnect. Autopilot disconnect. Suddenly the full weight of the aircraft was in her hands. It wanted to keep descending. Wanted to drop toward the mountains below. Lily pulled back on the yoke. Gently. Steadily. The Boeing 757 was nothing like the crop duster. It was sluggish. Heavy. It didn't respond instantly. But it did respond. The descent slowed. 1,500 feet per minute. 1,000 feet per minute. 500 feet per minute. Level. Lily held the yoke steady. Her arms were already aching. She was so small that she had to use her whole body to keep the aircraft level. But it was working. Third priority, communicate. She found the radio panel. It looked more complicated than the simple radio in the Pawnee, but the basics were the same. She keyed the mic. And spoke in a voice that was definitely, unmistakably, a child's voice. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Alaska Airlines Flight 391. Both pilots are incapacitated. I have control of the aircraft. My name is Lily. I'm 11 years old. I can fly but I need help landing. Please respond. For 3 long seconds, there was only static. Then a voice, male, professional, but shocked, Alaska 391. Say again. Who is speaking? My name is Lily Nakamura. I'm 11. I'm a passenger. Both pilots are unconscious. It looks like carbon monoxide poisoning. The aircraft was descending. I stopped the descent. I'm holding it level at, She checked the altimeter. 29,600 feet. I can fly small aircraft but I've never flown anything this big. I need help. Please. Another pause. Longer this time. Then a different voice. Older. Female. Trying very hard to stay calm. Lily, this is Denver Air Route Traffic Control Center. My name is Controller Davis. Did you just say an 11-year-old child is flying Alaska 391? Yes, ma'am. How do you know how to fly? My uncle taught me. He was a Navy pilot. I've been flying since I was 9. I've logged 280 hours in a Piper Pawnee crop duster. I know basic flight controls and emergency procedures. But I don't know this aircraft's systems. I don't know how to land something this big. Can you help me? Lily could hear voices in the background at Denver Center. People talking urgently. Someone saying, "Get me Alaska Airlines on the line now." Then Controller Davis came back, "Lily, yes, we're going to help you. Can you tell me what you see on the instrument panel in front of you?" Lily described what she saw. As she talked, she could hear the shock and disbelief in the controller's voice. Because this was impossible. An 11-year-old child flying a Boeing 757 with 222 people on board. But it was happening. Within 5 minutes of Lily's transmission, the entire aviation world erupted. Denver Center patched her radio frequency to every relevant authority. Alaska Airlines Operations Center in Seattle. The FAA Emergency Response Team. Boeing's Technical Support. The National Transportation Safety Board. And someone started making phone calls. Because if there was an 11-year-old girl who claimed to have 280 hours of flight time, someone had been teaching her. Someone who knew her skills. Someone who could help. It took 12 minutes to find Jack Nakamura's phone number. He was in his hangar in rural Oregon, 2,000 miles away, covered in engine grease, working on the Piper Pawnee's carburetor. His cell phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something made him pick up. "This is Jack. Mr. Nakamura, this is Tom Harrison with the FAA. Is your niece Lily on Alaska Airlines Flight 391 from Seattle to Boston?" Jack's blood went cold. "Yes." "Why? What happened?" "Sir, both pilots on that flight have been incapacitated. Your niece has taken control of the aircraft. She identified herself as a pilot with 280 hours of flight time. Can you confirm this?" The wrench Jack was holding clattered to the concrete floor. "Oh my God. Mr. Nakamura, we need to know, has she really been flying?" "Yes." Jack's voice was shaking. "I've been teaching her. For 3 years. It's illegal. I know that. I don't care. She needed it after her mother died. But she's good. She's really good. Better than most adult students I trained in the Navy. But she's 11 years old and she's flying a 757 AN. Sir, we need you on the radio with her. Right now. Can you get to a phone that can be patched into air traffic control?" "Yes, give me the number." They gave him a secure line to call. Jack ran to his office phone, dialing with shaking hands. 2 minutes later, he was on an open line to Denver Center. "Patch me through to her," he said. "Please." She needs to hear my voice. Controller Davis made the connection. Alaska 391, I have someone who wants to talk to you. Go ahead. Then a voice Lily knew better than any other. Sparrow, this is Uncle Jack. Do you copy? Lily's eyes filled with tears instantly. Her hands were shaking on the yoke. Her whole body was shaking. Uncle Jack, she whispered. I'm so scared. There's so many people. I don't know if I can. Lily, listen to me. Jack's voice was steady. Calm. The voice he used when teaching her to recover from a spin. You've already done the hard part. You stopped the descent. You're flying the aircraft. You're talking to air traffic control. You're doing everything right. Now we're going to help you land this plane. But I need you to be Sparrow. Can you do that for me? Lily wiped her eyes with the back of one hand, keeping the other on the yoke. Took a deep, shaky breath. Yes, sir. That's my girl. Now tell me what you see on the instruments. Lily started describing the panel in front of her. As she talked, her voice steadied. This was familiar. This was what she and Uncle Jack did every day. Looking at instruments. Analyzing. Problem solving. Behind her, Rachel and the other flight attendants were still in the cockpit, frozen in shock. Because they were watching an 11-year-old girl, a tiny child who had to sit on the edge of the seat to reach the controls, flying a Boeing 757 like she'd been doing it for years. At Alaska Airlines headquarters in Seattle, every available training captain was pulled into the Emergency Operations Center. Captain Sarah Mendez, one of their most senior 757 instructor pilots, was in a meeting when someone burst in. Sarah, we need you. Now. We have a situation. 2 minutes later, she was staring at a screen showing Flight 391's data. Both pilots incapacitated, the operations manager said. Passenger took over. An 11-year-old girl. Claims she can fly. She's been holding the aircraft level for the last 15 minutes. We need you to talk her through landing. Sarah blinked. I'm sorry, did you say 11 years old? Yes. That's impossible. It's happening. She's on the radio right now. Can you help her or not? Sarah grabbed a headset. Patch me through. Seconds later, she heard a child's voice, small, scared, but surprisingly calm, talking to Denver Center about engine instruments. Sarah keyed her mic. Lily, my name is Captain Sarah Mendez. I'm a 757 instructor pilot with Alaska Airlines. I'm going to help you land this aircraft. Are you ready to work with me? Yes, ma'am, Lily said. But I need to tell you, I've only flown small planes. I don't know the systems on this one. I don't know where anything is. That's okay. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do, step by step. First, I need you to re-engage the autopilot. Can you find the autopilot panel? Lily scanned the center console. Found the autopilot controls. I see it. Good. Push the button that says, LNAV. That will make the autopilot follow your flight path. Lily pushed it. Immediately, the yoke's resistance changed. The autopilot took over the small corrections. Her arms sagged with relief. It's working. The plane's flying itself now. Perfect. That buys us time. Now, let's talk about where you're going to land. Denver Center's controller cut in. Alaska 391, we're coordinating with Denver International Airport. We're clearing the airspace. You'll have priority landing. Lily looked out the cockpit window. Saw mountains. Endless mountains. Her stomach clenched. I've only ever landed on a grass runway. A small grass runway. This is really big. Uncle Jack's voice, Sparrow, big runway means more room for mistakes. That's good. You can do this. But Lily's hands were shaking again. At Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, two F-15 fighter pilots scrambled. Major Kate Viper Sullivan and her wingman, Captain Dave Hawk Morrison, were in the air within 8 minutes of the alert. Their mission, intercept Alaska 391. Provide visual confirmation. Be ready for, whatever this situation was. Because the briefing they got was insane. You're escorting a 757 being flown by an 11-year-old girl, the controller told them. Say again. Viper said. Did you say 11? Affirmative. Both pilots incapacitated. Passenger took over. She's a child. This is a joke, right? Negative. This is real. Get eyes on that aircraft and report. The two F-15s went supersonic, streaking across Colorado. Viper spotted Alaska 391 15 minutes later. Denver, Viper lead has visual. Alaska 391 is wings level, maintaining altitude. Aircraft appears stable. Viper, can you see into the cockpit? Viper maneuvered closer. Pulled alongside the massive 757. Looked through the cockpit window. And her breath caught. The captain's seat looked empty. All she could see was the top of someone's head. Dark hair. Barely visible over the seat back. Denver, this is Viper lead. I have visual on the pilot position. I can confirm there is someone in the captain's seat, but they're very small. All I can see is the top of their head. Viper, that's an 11-year-old girl. Viper had flown combat missions in Iraq. Had landed on carrier decks in storms. Had done things that would terrify most people. But this made her stomach drop. Say again, Denver. You're telling me a child is flying that 757? Affirmative. How is that possible? We don't know. But she's doing it. And she's doing it well. Stay with her. Report any changes. Viper flew alongside Flight 391, watching. The 757 was rock steady. Perfectly level. Not wavering. Whoever was flying it, child or not, knew what they were doing. Inside the cockpit, Lily was learning the Boeing 7571 system at a time. Captain Mendez talked her through each panel. The navigation display is in front of you. It shows your flight path. See the magenta line? Lily found it. Yes. That's your route. The autopilot is following it. Good. Now, let's talk about fuel. Find the fuel gauges. Lily scanned the overhead panel. Found the fuel indicators. I see them. What do they show? Left tank says 8,400. Right tank says 8,600. Units say, pounds. Good. That's pounds of fuel. You have plenty to reach Denver. Now let's prepare for descent. For the next 30 minutes, Captain Mendez taught Lily the basics of the 757. How to use the autopilot to descend. How to extend flaps. How to adjust thrust. How to configure the aircraft for landing. Lily listened carefully. Asked questions. Followed instructions exactly. Uncle Jack stayed on the line the whole time, providing encouragement. You're doing great, Sparrow. Remember to stay ahead of the aircraft. Breathe. You've got this. Behind Lily, Rachel watched in stunned silence. This tiny child, this little girl in a purple hoodie, was actually doing it. Learning to fly a Boeing 757 in real time. Saving 222 people. Rachel thought about the passengers in the cabin. They still didn't know. The crew had told them there was a situation with the pilots and that a qualified individual has taken control. They didn't say it was an 11-year-old. If they knew, there would be mass panic. So Rachel kept the secret. And watched this impossible little girl perform miracles. 1 hour after Lily took control, Denver Center gave her the approach plan. Alaska 391, you're currently 120 miles northwest of Denver International Airport. We're going to vector you for a straight-in approach to runway 34 right. It's 16,000 feet long, 2 miles of runway. Plenty of room. Lily's hands tightened on the yoke. Okay. We're also clearing all other traffic. You'll be the only aircraft in Denver airspace. Every emergency vehicle in the city will be standing by. You'll have fire trucks, ambulances, everything you need. Lily swallowed hard. What if I crash? Controller Davis's voice was gentle. You're not going to crash, Lily. We're going to help you. Captain Mendez is going to help you. Your uncle is going to help you. And you're going to land this plane safely. Do you believe that? Lily wanted to say yes. Wanted to feel confident. But she was 11 years old and terrified. I don't know, she whispered. Uncle Jack cut in, Sparrow, look at me. I mean it, look out your window. Lily looked. Major Sullivan's F-15 was flying formation just off the 757's right wing. So close Lily could see the pilot's face through the helmet visor. The pilot gave her a thumbs up. That's Major Sullivan, Jack said. She's one of the best pilots in the Air Force. She's watching you. And she says you're flying perfectly. So I need you to trust yourself. You've been flying for 3 years. You've done touch-and-goes in crosswinds that would scare most pilots. You've recovered from spins. You've handled emergencies. This is just another landing. Bigger aircraft, same principles. You can do this. Lily took a shaky breath. Okay. That's my Sparrow. Captain Mendez came back on. Lily, let's start your descent. Find the altitude selector on the autopilot panel. It's a knob with numbers. Lily found it. Got it. Turn it counterclockwise to select 24,000 feet. Lily turned the knob. The numbers on the display changed. Now push the knob in. She pushed. The autopilot pitched the nose down slightly. The aircraft began descending. Good. The autopilot is doing the work. You just need to monitor. Watch your descent rate. It should be between 1,500 and 2,000 feet per minute. Lily watched the vertical speed indicator. It says 1,800. Perfect. You're doing perfect, Lily. The Rocky Mountains loomed ahead. Snow-covered peaks reaching toward the sky. Some of them were above 14,000 feet, higher than Lily had ever flown. She'd flown over mountains before in the Piper Pawnee. Uncle Jack had taught her mountain flying, the updrafts, the downdrafts, the way wind behaved around peaks. But this was different. This was a massive commercial jet carrying 222 people. One mistake and they'd slam into a mountainside. Lily's breathing got faster. Lily, talk to me, Uncle Jack said. What are you thinking? The mountains, Lily said. They're really close. What's your altitude? 27,000 feet. And the highest peak below you? Lily looked at the navigation display. Found the terrain awareness system. It says 14,200. So you have almost 13,000 feet of clearance. You're fine. The autopilot knows where the mountains are. It's going to keep you safe. Just trust the system. But what if? No what ifs, Sparrow. You've got this. Lily forced herself to breathe slowly. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The way Uncle Jack had taught her to calm down before a difficult landing. The aircraft descended smoothly through 26,000 feet. 25,000 feet. 24,000 feet. The mountains passed below, their peaks sharp and white and deadly. But the 757 flew over them easily. Lily started to relax. Just a little. In the passenger cabin, people were starting to realize something was very wrong. They'd been told there was an issue with the pilots. That a qualified person had taken over. That they were going to land in Denver instead of continuing to Boston. But it had been over an hour. And they could see the mountains outside. And some people were smart enough to know that mountains meant danger. A woman in row 22 started crying. "We're going to die. I know it. We're going to crash." Her husband tried to calm her down. They said everything's under control. Then why are we landing in Denver? Why won't they tell us what's happening? Other passengers started getting agitated. Someone demanded answers. Rachel came on the PA system. "Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're scared. But I need you to trust us. We have someone very skilled flying this aircraft. We're going to land safely in Denver. Please stay calm. Please stay in your seats. We're going to be okay." She didn't say the pilot was 11 years old. If she did, there would be riots. So she lied. And prayed that this impossible child in the cockpit could actually pull this off. At 18,000 feet, Captain Mendez started teaching Lily the landing configuration. "Lily, we need to slow down and extend the flaps. Find the flap lever. It's on your right, near the throttles." Lily found it. A large lever with settings marked 0, 1, 5, 15, 20, 25, 30. "I found it," Lily said. "Good. Right now it should be at 0. We're going to extend flaps gradually as we descend. First, I need you to slow down. Find the speed selector on the autopilot panel." Lily scanned the panel. Found a knob labeled Speed. "Got it. What does it show right now?" 280. "That's 280 knots, your current speed. Turn it counterclockwise to select 250 knots. Lily turned the knob. The number changed to 250. "Now push it in." She pushed. The engine's pitch changed. The aircraft began slowing. Perfect. "Now, when your speed reaches 250, move the flap lever to position 1. Lily watched the speed indicator drop. 270 knots. 260, 255. 250. She moved the flap lever to 1. A mechanical sound, hydraulics moving. She felt a slight vibration through the airframe. "Flaps are moving," Captain Mendez confirmed, watching the data feed at Alaska Airlines headquarters. "Good. Now we wait for the speed to stabilize, then we'll extend more flaps as we get lower." Uncle Jack's voice, "How are you feeling, Sparrow?" "Scared," Lily admitted. "My arms hurt from holding the yoke earlier. And my legs are shaking. That's adrenaline. It's normal. But you're through the hardest part. The autopilot is doing most of the work now. You're just managing it. You've got this." Major Sullivan's voice came over the radio. She'd been cleared to speak directly to Lily. "Hey, Lily, this is Major Sullivan in the F-15 on your right. I've been flying for 15 years, and I've got to say, you're doing better than half the pilots I've trained. Keep it up, kid." Despite her fear, Lily felt a tiny spark of pride. At 12,000 feet, Denver came into view. The city sprawled across the plains east of the mountains. And there, Lily could see it, Denver International Airport. Even from this distance, it looked enormous. 6 runways. Massive terminals. Nothing like the tiny grass strip she was used to. Her stomach clenched again. "I see the airport," she said quietly. "Good," Controller Davis said. "We're going to start turning you toward runway 34 right. The autopilot will do the turn. Just monitor." The 757 began a gentle turn to the right. Lily watched the runway grow larger in the distance. So much concrete. So much space. At Uncle Jack's airfield, the runway was 2,000 feet of grass. She could see both ends at the same time. This runway was 16,000 feet. 2 miles. She couldn't even see the far end. "Lily, I need you to extend flaps to position 5, Captain Mendez said. Lily moved the lever. More hydraulic sounds. The aircraft slowed further. Now reduce speed to 210 knots. Lily adjusted the speed selector. Step by step, Captain Mendez walked her through the approach configuration. Flaps to 15. Speed to 180 knots. Landing gear down. When Lily moved the gear lever, there was a loud mechanical sound, thunk thunk thunk, as 3 massive landing gear assemblies extended below the aircraft. 3 green lights appeared on the panel. Gear down and locked, Captain Mendez confirmed. You're configured for landing. Now we start the final approach. At 5,000 feet, Lily could see everything. The runway stretched out ahead, a long strip of concrete lined with lights. Emergency vehicles were everywhere. Fire trucks. Ambulances. Police cars. Dozens of them. All waiting for her. All waiting to see if an 11-year-old girl could land a Boeing 757. Alaska 391, you're 10 miles from the runway, Controller Davis said. Turn heading 340. Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Lily adjusted the autopilot settings. The aircraft turned on to final approach. Now she was lined up with the runway. A straight shot. But she still had to actually land. And for that, she'd have to turn off the autopilot and fly manually. Lily, Captain Mendez said gently. At 1,000 feet, you're going to disconnect the autopilot and hand fly the landing. I know that sounds scary, but you've done this before. It's just like landing the Piper. Same principles. Bigger aircraft, but same principles. Do you understand? Lily's mouth was dry. Yes, ma'am. Your uncle is going to talk you through it. I'll be here if you need me. But this is between you and him now. Uncle Jack came on, Sparrow, listen to me. You've landed the Pawnee hundreds of times. You know what a good landing looks like. You know the sight picture. You know when to flare. This is the same thing. The runway is bigger, the aircraft is heavier, but the fundamentals don't change. Trust your training. Trust yourself. I'm right here with you. Lily's hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the edge of the seat to steady them. 8 miles from the runway. 6,000 feet altitude. She could see people on the ground. Tiny figures watching. 7 miles. 5,000 feet. The runway was getting closer. Bigger. 6 miles. 4,000 feet. Alaska 391, you're cleared to land runway 34 right, Controller Davis said. Wind is 320 at 8 knots. You've got this, Lily. 5 miles. 3,000 feet. Lily extended flaps to 25. The aircraft slowed to 160 knots. 4 miles. 2,000 feet. Flaps to 30, full landing configuration. Speed 145 knots. 3 miles. 1,500 feet. Uncle Jack, okay, Sparrow. At 1,000 feet, disconnect the autopilot. You ready? Lily couldn't speak. Just nodded, even though he couldn't see her. 2 miles. 1,200 feet. Her finger hovered over the autopilot disconnect button. 1,000 feet. She pushed it. Autopilot disconnect. Autopilot disconnect. Suddenly the full weight of the 757 was in her hands again. It was descending at 700 feet per minute. The runway was rushing up. Lily's arms were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. But her hands stayed on the yoke. 800 feet. The runway was huge now, filling her vision. 600 feet. She could see the markings on the concrete. The threshold numbers. The touchdown zone. 400 feet. Uncle Jack's voice, calm and steady, looking good, Sparrow. You're on glide path. Just keep it coming down. 300 feet. Lily's eyes were locked on the runway, watching the sight picture. The way the runway appeared to rise up to meet her. She'd done this hundreds of times in the Pawnee. This was the same. Bigger. Heavier. More people depending on her. But the same. 200 feet. A little power, Uncle Jack said. You're sinking fast. Add just a touch of throttle. Lily pushed the throttles forward slightly. The engines responded. The descent rate decreased. 100 feet. The ground was right there. So close. 50 feet. Now, Sparrow. Flare. Pull back gently. Let it float. Lily pulled back on the yoke with all her strength. The nose came up. The 757's descent slowed. 30 feet. 20 feet. 10 feet. The main landing gear touched the runway. Not perfectly smooth, there was a slight bounce, but it held. The nose gear came down. Lily slammed the throttles to idle and pulled the thrust reverser levers. The engines roared, reversing thrust, slowing the massive aircraft. She pressed on the brakes, gently at first, then harder. The 757 slowed. 80 knots. 60 knots. 40 knots. 20 knots. Stop. 222 people. Alive. The cockpit was silent for a moment. Then Uncle Jack's voice, thick with emotion, "You did it, Sparrow. You did it." And Lily started crying. The moment the aircraft came to a stop, the emergency vehicles surrounded it. Fire trucks. Ambulances. Airport police. News helicopters overhead. Inside the cockpit, Lily sat in the captain's seat, her small hands still gripping the yoke, tears streaming down her face. Rachel rushed forward and wrapped her arms around the tiny girl. Lily. Oh my God. Lily, you saved us. You saved everyone. Lily couldn't speak. Could only cry. Behind them, paramedics rushed in to help Captain Webb and First Officer Park. Both men were still unconscious, both needed immediate medical attention. Carbon monoxide poisoning, one of the paramedics said. They're lucky to be alive. Another 10 minutes and they'd be dead. Rachel held Lily tighter. If this little girl hadn't taken over when she did, everyone would have died. Outside, airport officials were trying to figure out what to do. The passengers still didn't know who had landed the plane. When the aircraft door opened and the stairs were rolled up, people started filing out, shaken, scared, but alive. A CNN news crew was already there, cameras rolling. Can you tell us what happened? A reporter asked a businessman stepping off the plane. I don't know, he said. They told us there was a problem with the pilots. That someone else landed the plane. But they wouldn't say who. Another passenger, a woman in her 60s, all I know is we're alive. Whoever saved us, I want to thank them. Then Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. She was so small that at first, people thought she was a child being escorted off by crew. But then someone realized, she was coming from the cockpit. The CNN reporter saw her. Did a double take. Is that a child? Lily walked down the stairs slowly, her legs shaking. At the bottom, she was met by airport officials, FAA investigators, and paramedics. Are you Lily Nakamura? An FAA official asked. She nodded. You flew this aircraft? Another nod. How old are you? 11, Lily whispered. The CNN reporter heard it. Her eyes went wide. Did she just say 11? Within seconds, the story was everywhere. Breaking, 11-year-old girl lands Boeing 757 after both pilots collapse. Child pilot saves 222 lives in miracle landing. Youngest pilot in history performs emergency landing. The passengers, now learning who had saved them, reacted with shock and tears. The businessman from seat 14B, the one who'd barely noticed Lily during the flight, fell to his knees when he saw her. You, he said. You were the kid sitting next to me. You saved us. Lily nodded. He started crying. I have 2 daughters your age. You saved my life. You saved everyone. How can I ever thank you? Lily didn't know what to say. A young mother pushed through the crowd, holding twin babies. She knelt in front of Lily. My babies, she said, tears streaming down her face. You saved my babies. You're a hero. You're an angel. Lily shook her head. I just did what my mom would have done. More passengers surrounded her. Thanking her. Crying. Trying to hug her. It was overwhelming. Rachel finally stepped in. Okay, everyone, please give Lily some space. She's been through a lot. She needs to rest. They led Lily to a quiet room inside the terminal. Paramedics checked her over. She was physically fine, just exhausted and emotionally drained. An FAA investigator sat down with her gently. Lily, we need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? She nodded. You said your uncle taught you to fly. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Uncle Jack. He's a former Navy pilot. And he taught you illegally? Lily looked down. Yes, sir. I know it was against the law. But, after my mom died, flying was the only thing that made me feel better. Uncle Jack knew that. So he taught me. We knew it was illegal. We didn't care. The investigator wrote notes. How many hours have you flown? 280. All in a Piper Pawnee crop duster. And you've never flown a Boeing 757 before? No, sir. Never even been in the cockpit of one until today. The investigator sat back. Lily, do you understand what you did today? She shook her head. You saved 222 people. You performed a landing that many professional pilots couldn't do. You stayed calm under pressure that would break most adults. You're a hero. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. I was so scared. I know. But you did it anyway. That's what makes you a hero. 3 hours later, a charter plane landed at Denver International. Jack Nakamura stepped off, his face pale with worry. He'd flown from Oregon as fast as he could. His hands had been shaking the entire flight. When he entered the terminal and saw Lily sitting in a chair, wrapped in a blanket, his legs almost gave out. Lily. She looked up. Saw him. And ran. Jack dropped to his knees and caught her as she crashed into him. He hugged her so hard she could barely breathe. I'm sorry, Uncle Jack, she sobbed into his shoulder. I broke our secret. Everyone knows now. They're going to take me away. Shoo, no. Nobody's taking you anywhere. You're safe. You're here. You're alive. But I flew illegally. You saved 222 people. You're a hero, Sparrow. I'm so proud of you. Lily cried into his shoulder for a long time. When she finally calmed down, Jack pulled back and looked at her. Tell me everything. From the beginning. So Lily told him. About hearing the captain's slurred voice. About walking to the cockpit. About climbing into the captain's seat. About the descent, the approach, the landing. Jack listened, his eyes wide with amazement. You hand flew the final approach, he asked. Yes, sir. The autopilot got me to 1,000 feet, but I landed it manually. In a 757. That you'd never flown before. Captain Mendez helped. And you helped. I couldn't have done it without you. Jack pulled her into another hug. You did it, Sparrow. You really did it. The FAA investigation began immediately. Technically, Jack Nakamura had committed multiple federal violations. Operating an aircraft without proper certification. Allowing an unqualified person to act as pilot in command. Failing to report illegal flight operations. Each violation carried potential prison time. But the situation was complicated. Because that unqualified person had just saved 222 lives. The media coverage was overwhelming. Every news channel ran the story. 11-year-old Lily Nakamura, dubbed the Miracle Child pilot, landed a Boeing 757 yesterday after both pilots were incapacitated by carbon monoxide poisoning. Experts are calling it one of the most remarkable feats in aviation history. Video footage showed Lily walking down the aircraft stairs, tiny, exhausted, overwhelmed. Interviews with passengers. She's an angel. She saved my life. I can't believe an 11-year-old did that. It's a miracle. I want to thank her family. They raised an incredible child. But there were also questions. How was an 11-year-old allowed to fly illegally for 3 years? Why didn't social services know about this? Should her uncle be prosecuted? The FAA held a press conference 3 days after the incident. The FAA administrator, a stern woman named Patricia Reynolds, stood at a podium. We have completed our preliminary investigation into the Alaska Airlines Flight 391 incident, she said. We can confirm that Lily Nakamura, age 11, took control of the aircraft after both pilots were incapacitated. She successfully landed the Boeing 757, saving all 222 people on board. Reporters shouted questions. Will you prosecute her uncle? Is she in trouble for flying illegally? Administrator Reynolds held up a hand for silence. Jack Nakamura violated multiple federal regulations by teaching his niece to fly without proper certification. Under normal circumstances, this would result in prosecution and potential imprisonment. Murmurs from the crowd. However, Reynolds continued, these are not normal circumstances. Lily Nakamura's illegal training resulted in 222 people going home to their families. Her uncle's decision to teach her, while illegal, created a pilot capable of performing under extreme pressure. She paused. The FAA's mission is to ensure safety in aviation. Jack Nakamura's actions, while illegal, ultimately served that mission. Therefore, after extensive deliberation, we have decided not to pursue criminal charges. Applause from the reporters. Instead, Reynolds said, we are recognizing Lily Nakamura with the FAA's highest civilian commendation for heroism in aviation. And we are offering her a path, when she reaches the legal age of 16, to obtain her pilot's license through a specialized training program. More applause. Lily Nakamura proved that skill, courage, and training matter more than age. While we cannot condone illegal flight operations, we can recognize exceptional circumstances when we see them. Today, we celebrate a young hero. The passengers of Flight 391 organized a gathering 2 weeks later. They wanted to thank Lily in person. It was held at a hotel in Denver. Over 150 of the 222 passengers attended. Lily didn't want to go. She hated crowds. Hated attention. But Uncle Jack convinced her. They need to thank you, Sparrow. They need closure. And you need to see that what you did mattered. So she went. When she walked into the conference room, 150 people stood and applauded. Lily froze. It was overwhelming. Terrifying. But then she saw their faces. The businessman from seat 14B, smiling with tears in his eyes. The young mother with the twin babies, holding them up so Lily could see. The elderly couple who'd been celebrating their anniversary. All alive because of her. The young mother approached first. Lily, I want you to meet Emma and Ella. My daughters. They're alive because of you. She placed one of the babies in Lily's arms. Lily looked down at the tiny infant. So small. So fragile. Hi, Emma, Lily whispered. Or Ella. I'm not sure which one you are. The mother laughed through tears. That's Emma. She's the troublemaker. Lily smiled. Other passengers came forward, one by one. Thanking her. Hugging her. Telling her their stories. I was going to Boston to see my daughter graduate college. Because of you, I made it. I'm a cancer survivor. I beat cancer, and then I almost died in a plane crash. But you saved me. Thank you. My son is getting married next month. I'm going to walk him down the aisle because of you. Story after story after story. 222 lives. Each one with dreams, families, futures. All saved by one tiny girl who learned to fly because it was the only way to feel close to her dead mother. By the end of the event, Lily was exhausted but smiling. For the first time since her mother died, she felt like she'd done something that mattered. Captain Marcus Webb and First Officer David Park both survived. They were hospitalized for a week, treated for severe carbon monoxide poisoning. When they were released, they asked to meet Lily. The meeting was arranged at Alaska Airlines headquarters. Lily was nervous. These were the pilots. Real pilots. Professionals. What would they think of her? Captain Webb walked in first. He looked tired, but alive. He saw Lily and stopped. This tiny child had flown his aircraft. Had saved his life. He knelt down to her level. Lily, I'm Captain Webb. I want to thank you for saving my life. Lily looked down. I'm sorry I had to take over your plane. Webb laughed, a surprised, genuine laugh. Sorry. Lily, you're a hero. You did something incredible. I've been flying for 30 years, and I don't know if I could have done what you did. Really? Really? You landed a 757 that you'd never flown before, in an emergency situation, with no training on that aircraft. That's extraordinary. First Officer Park came in next. He also knelt down. Lily, thank you. I have 2 kids at home. I'm going to see them again because of you. Lily felt tears forming. I was really scared. I'm sure you were, Webb said gently. But you did it anyway. That's courage. That's what makes a great pilot. He reached into his bag and pulled out something. Captain's wings. The small metal pin that airline captains wear on their uniforms. These were mine when I was a first officer, Webb said. I want you to have them. Because one day, when you're old enough, you're going to be an incredible pilot. And I want you to remember that you're already a hero. He pinned the wings to Lily's purple hoodie. Lily touched them gently. Started crying. Thank you, she whispered. 3 weeks after the incident, Lily returned to Oregon. Uncle Jack drove her back to the isolated airfield that had been her home for 3 years. Everything looked the same. The rusted hangars. The grass runways. The old Piper Pawnee waiting in the hangar. But everything felt different. Because now, people knew about this place. News crews had come. Aviation magazines had done stories. Flight schools wanted to sponsor her training. The secret was gone. Lily walked into the hangar and stood in front of the Piper Pawnee. This old, beat-up crop duster had taught her everything. She ran her hand along the wing. "Thank you," she said quietly. Uncle Jack stood in the doorway. "You okay, Sparrow?" "I don't know. Everything's different now." "Yeah. It is. Are you mad at me? For telling everyone?" Jack walked over and put his hand on her shoulder. "Mad? Lily, you saved 222 people. I could never be mad at you for that. I'm proud of you. But now everyone knows we were flying illegally. And nobody cares. Because what we did, teaching you to fly, saved lives. Sometimes the rules need to be broken for the right reasons." Lily looked up at him. "Can I still fly? Here, I mean. Can we still fly together?" Jack smiled. "The FAA actually contacted me about that. They're allowing me to continue teaching you, under supervision now. An FAA inspector will check on us monthly. But yeah, we can keep flying." Lily's face lit up. "Really? Really? In fact." Jack walked to his office and came back with a folder. "I've been talking to some people. There's a program for young pilots. When you turn 16, you can start official training for your private pilot license. And some airlines have said they want to sponsor your training all the way through commercial certification. So I can really be a pilot? Like, for real?" "Yeah, Sparrow. You can be a pilot for real." Lily threw her arms around him. "Thank you, Uncle Jack. For everything. For teaching me. For believing in me. Always, kiddo. Always." That afternoon, they flew. Just like they had hundreds of times before. Lily climbed into the Piper Pawnee's seat, sat on the phone books to reach the pedals, wrapped her hands around the stick. Uncle Jack sat in the instructor's seat behind her. "You ready?" he asked. "Ready. Then let's fly." Lily started the engine. The familiar rumble. The propeller spinning. She taxied to the grass runway, checked her instruments, and pushed the throttle forward. The Pawnee bumped across the grass, gaining speed. 50 knots. 60 knots. She pulled back on the stick. And lifted off. The ground dropped away. The trees fell below. The sky opened up above. Lily felt the weight lift from her chest. This was where she belonged. Not in cities. Not in schools. Not in places where people stared and asked questions. Here. In the sky. Where her mother had lived. Where she felt free. "How does it feel, Sparrow?" Uncle Jack asked. Lily smiled, the first real smile in weeks. "It feels like home." Lily finally made it to Boston a month later. Her grandmother was in hospice. Very weak. Not much time left. Lily didn't want to go. Didn't want to say goodbye. But Uncle Jack said it was important. "She needs to see you one more time, Sparrow. And you need to see her. You'll regret it if you don't." So Lily flew to Boston, commercial flight again, but this time with Uncle Jack beside her. When they walked into the hospice room, Lily saw her grandmother for the first time in 3 years. She looked so small. So fragile. Nothing like the strong woman Lily remembered. Her grandmother's eyes opened when she heard them enter. "Lily?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Hi, Grandma. Come here, sweetheart." Lily walked to the bed. Sat in the chair beside it. Her grandmother reached out a thin, shaking hand. Lily took it. "I heard what you did," her grandmother said. "On the airplane. Everyone's talking about it. My granddaughter, the hero. I was really scared." "Of course you were. But you did it anyway." Her grandmother smiled. "You're just like your mother. She was fearless too." Lily's eyes filled with tears. I miss her so much. I know, sweetheart. I miss her too. Every day. Her grandmother squeezed Lily's hand weakly. But she's so proud of you. I know she is. Wherever she is, she's watching, and she's proud. You think so? I know so. You're her daughter. You have her courage. Her skill. Her heart. The grandmother coughed, struggling to breathe. I'm sorry I couldn't take care of you after she died. I know you needed to be with Jack. Needed to fly. I understand that now. It's okay, Grandma. No, it's not. I wanted you to have a normal life. School. Friends. But that's not what you needed. You needed the sky. Just like your mother. They sat together for a long time, holding hands. Finally, her grandmother said, "Promise me something, Lily. Anything. Keep flying. Get your license when you're old enough. Become a pilot. Make your mother proud. And when you're up there, flying, remember that she's with you. Always." Lily was crying now. I promise, Grandma. I promise. Her grandmother smiled. Closed her eyes. Good girl. My brave, beautiful girl. 3 days later, her grandmother passed away peacefully in her sleep. Lily cried at the funeral. But they weren't just sad tears. They were grateful tears. Because she'd gotten to say goodbye. Lily stood at her mother's grave on a warm September afternoon. The cemetery was quiet. Just her and Uncle Jack and the wind in the trees. She placed flowers on the headstone, purple, her mother's favorite color. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. "It's me. Lily. I guess you know what happened. With the plane. The 757. Uncle Jack says you would have been proud. I hope you were watching." She touched the headstone, running her fingers over the engraved name, Captain Yuki Firebird Nakamura. "I'm going to keep flying, Mom. When I'm old enough, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to be a commercial pilot. Maybe not aerobatics, I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe someday. But I want to fly big planes. Help people. Keep them safe." She paused, remembering the passengers from Flight 391. The babies. The families. The dreams she'd saved. "I saved 222 people, Mom. Because you taught me to love flying. Because Uncle Jack taught me how to fly. Because you both showed me that the sky is where I belong." Tears ran down her face. But she was smiling. "I miss you every day. But when I fly, I feel close to you. Like you're there with me. Like you're teaching me. Guiding me." Uncle Jack stood nearby, giving her space. Waiting. When Lily walked back to him, she asked, "Can we go home and fly?" Jack smiled. "Yeah, Sparrow. Let's fly." They drove back to Oregon. Back to the isolated airfield. Back to the Piper Pawnee and the grass runway and the open sky. But things were different now. The FAA inspector visited monthly, watching Lily fly, impressed every time. Aviation journalists came to interview her. Flight schools offered scholarships. A documentary crew was filming her story. She'd been featured on the cover of Aviation Week. Other young people, kids who dreamed of flying, wrote her letters. "You're my hero. Because of you, I'm going to become a pilot. You showed me that age doesn't matter if you have skill and courage." Lily read every letter. Answered as many as she could. Because she understood what it was like to feel lost. To feel like you didn't belong anywhere. And if her story could help someone else find their wings, it was worth it. That afternoon, they flew the Pawnee together one more time. But this time was different. Because waiting at the airfield was a surprise. A brand new Cessna 172. Donated by a pilot who'd been inspired by Lily's story. "It's yours," Uncle Jack said. "For training. So you can learn on a more modern aircraft." Lily stared at it. "Mine?" "Yours." "Well, technically mine, since you can't own an aircraft yet. But you'll fly it. Train in it. And when you turn 16 and get your license, it'll be registered in your name." Lily walked around the Cessna, touching the wing, looking in the cockpit. It was beautiful. Clean. Modern. Everything the old Pawnee wasn't. But she turned back to the Piper Pawnee. "Can we still fly the Pawnee sometimes?" she asked. "Always," Jack said. "The Pawnee is where you learned. It'll always be special." Lily smiled. They flew the Pawnee first, for old time's sake. Took off from the grass runway, climbed into the Oregon sky, and did what they always did. Touch and goes. Stalls. Turns. The basics. But also joy. Freedom. Connection. Because flying wasn't just about getting from one place to another. It was about being where you belonged. And Lily belonged in the sky. As the sun set that evening, painting the sky orange and pink and purple, Lily sat on the wing of the Piper Pawnee. Uncle Jack sat beside her. They didn't talk. Just watched the sunset together. And Lily felt her mother's presence. Not as grief anymore. But as wings. Lifting her up. Keeping her safe. Guiding her forward. She was Sparrow. The girl who saved 222 lives at age 11. The youngest hero in aviation history. The tiny pilot in the purple hoodie who proved that size doesn't define courage. But more than that, she was Yuki Nakamura's daughter. And she was finally flying the way her mother had taught her. Fearlessly. Joyfully. Free. Lily Nakamura, now 16, stood in the FAA office in Portland, Oregon. An examiner sat across from her, reviewing her flight records. 280 hours before age 12, he said, shaking his head in amazement. Then another 400 hours of supervised training since then. You have more flight time than most pilots twice your age. Yes, sir, Lily said. And you want to take your private pilot exam today? Yes, sir. The examiner smiled. Well, let's see if the girl who landed a 757 at age 11 can pass a basic private pilot check ride. 3 hours later, after an oral exam and a flight test, Lily walked out with her private pilot license. At 16 years old, she was finally, legally, a pilot. Uncle Jack was waiting outside. He pulled her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you, Sparrow. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You've always had it in you. I just helped you find it." That night, Lily flew solo for the first time as a legal pilot. Just her and the Cessna and the sky. She climbed to 5,000 feet, leveled off, and looked out at the world below. And she whispered, "Thanks, Mom. For the wings." The sky was endless, and Lily was home.